What's up, boxing fans? This is TBE Boxing, back at you again. Today's topic, Mark Breland says, Wilder never listened to me, can't beat Fury, did not fight anyone. His career is over. Let's chop it up and see what it's all about.
Got the money for minutes, pretty bitch, gotta show me titties. This is the life that I chose, huh? On the block with the pole, huh? This is the life that I chose, huh? On the block with the pole, huh? That life before riches, huh? That life before riches, huh? Pretty bitch, show me titties, huh? And I got the glazzy run up on me, I'ma make you get it. I'ma make you get it.
Okay, boxing fans, let's talk some boxing. Okay, we got a lot to chop up right now. All right, so Mark Breland has basically ended his silence. Okay, he did an interview today on podcast. I'm going to leave the link on my channel. I'm going to leave it at the bottom of the description so you can go and check out the interview yourself. But basically, Mark Breland has come out and, started talking. He has responded to all the different allegations that you have seen on YouTube, about the glove gate, the water gate, him, spiking the water, that Fury cheated. He has basically answered, all of these questions. Okay. Pretty good interview. I mean, the sound wasn't that great, but the interview was, the content, the topic was, very interesting. Mark Breland had a lot to say. So, well, basically what, he came out and confirmed a lot of things that, people have actually thought, about Deontay Wilder in terms of, his training regimen and, his dedication to the sport of boxing. So, Breland basically, said that this whole, him spiking Tyson Fury's water is crazy talk. Okay, he said basically when not Tyson Fury, but spiking Deontay Wilder's water is just crazy talk, and that when Deontay Wilder wins, he wins. So what would that be? Why would he do something like that? It doesn't make any sense. He said those people on YouTube talking about that sort of thing, is just talking crazy. And there's a lot he said. So let me just list some of the things that he talked about. Okay, we're gonna go into them one by one, but basically he confirmed the fact that Deontay Wilder is the type of fighter that doesn't really like to train. Okay, and I mean you see what it says here in my headline that Mark Breland said Wilder never listened to me. That Wilder can't beat Fury. Wilder did not fight anyone, and that Wilder's career is basically over. This is what Mark Breland said in the interview. Okay, and he said basically Wilder, everything was okay with him and Wilder. He'd been with Wilder since Wilder became a pro, and that everything was okay with Wilder until he lost. And he goes on to say that some people just can't take a loss. They want to blame everybody but themselves. They don't want to, make any changes. They just want to, blame someone. And so that's basically what Mark Breland is saying. Excuse me. Then he said that he never had Breland's water in that fight, really. Wilder's water. Breland said he never had Wilder's water in that fight. So you don't even know what people are talking about. He wasn't the one giving Wilder water. Okay. And he was asked about the gloves, the glove gate. He said, well, JD was the one responsible for making sure the gloves were okay. Okay, and I spoke to you about that in a previous video where JD had said, well, actually, someone else, had said that JD's said he never inspected the gloves. So we all know that JD never actually did his job, in terms of the gloves in that fight, So Mark Breland basically confirmed that it was JD that was responsible for the gloves, and we all knew that already. He says basically, and another thing, he says Wilder basically does what he wants to do. He doesn't listen to he doesn't listen to Mark Breland, basically. Mark Breland, you know, when asked about that, said that, you know, look at my fights. You know, he says, do you see anything like Wilder? Do you see Wilder fight the way I fight? He says, the proof is in the fights. He says, look at the fights. Okay? And, you know, when he was pressed even more, he said, he doesn't listen to me. He basically does whatever he wants to do. Okay? So there you go. I mean, it's pretty obvious that Wilder is not really listening to anybody. Because, I mean, you know, it was always a mystery to me. Because I know Mark Breland. I've seen him fight. I've seen, you know, he's a pretty skilled fighter. You know, his record, he's an Olympic, you know, gold medal winner, 5-time Golden Glove champ. And Deontay Wilder doesn't fight anything like him. You know, nothing, not even close. So he's been training Wilder since the very beginning of his career, of Wilder's career as a pro, and Wilder hasn't actually picked up any of the skills of a Mark Breland. None of them whatsoever. So I mean, that's incredible right there on his face. I mean, how does that happen? And so basically, Mark Breland confirmed that he doesn't listen. Wilder doesn't listen to him. Okay, he does whatever he wants to do. Okay. And you know, so Mark Breland is saying, look at the proof is in the fights. He said, look at the fights. And that would tell you if he listens to me or not. Okay, look at the way he fights. And so, wow, and that was something else when he said that. You know, and it's true. And you look at the way Wilder fight, he doesn't fight nothing like Mark Breland. Okay. And, you know, as far as he said also Wilder doesn't hit the heavy bag, he doesn't hit the speed bag, and he doesn't jump rope. These are the foundations of training in boxing, you know. Hitting the heavy bag, the speed bag, and jumping rope. And Wilder, he says, does none of that. Okay, so now we know, you know, why Wilder is lacking in so many areas when it comes to various techniques, you know, in boxing. You know, he doesn't really follow any of the fundamentals. He's not a fundamentally sound boxer. Okay, this is clear by the way he's fighting. And so, you know, Mark Breland also made reference to the fact that, he said, look at his philosophy of fighting, he said. His philosophy is that he only has to be perfect for 2 seconds, and the other guy has to be perfect for 12 rounds. He said that philosophy alone tells you everything about all you need to know. And again, Mark Breland is right, it was spot on. I mean, you know, what type of boxer have a philosophy like that? That he only has to be perfect for 2 seconds, and the other fighter has to be perfect for 12 rounds. So, you know, that's an irresponsible thing to say, much less to practice that type of philosophy as a boxer. It's very irresponsible. That means you really don't have any respect for boxing. Okay, so you know, because he's overly dependent on that right hand. You know, he started believing the hype. He started drinking the Kool-Aid, basically. You know, that his right hand can, you know, end any fight, and that's all he needs is just being able to land the right hand one time, and that's it. And so that's his philosophy. Okay, and you know, that's what he rode with. You know, in a fight with Tyson Fury, and we all saw the result of that. Because again, at the end of the day, I mean, we've seen this type of thing before, but I don't think we've seen it as bad as, you know, as Wilder had it. You know what I mean? We have seen guys who depended on their power, but a lot of these guys had the fundamentals and knew how to box. At least know how to box, you know, had some basic boxing skills, okay? But Wilder is the kind of guy who doesn't seem to want to learn any of the basics and just wants to depend on the right hand, okay? And that's it. That's his whole strategy in every fight. The right hand will land eventually, and that will be the end of the fight. So when the right hand lands and the other person doesn't fall, or the other person gets back up, then, you know, there's no plan B. That's just it. That's just the one. That's all he has is the one hand. So we all saw the result of that in the Tyson Fury fight, and you know, this is why Wilder got beaten. He got his ass handed to him because he's not really a fundamentally sound fighter in any way, shape, or form. I mean, this is what people have to understand. You know, I mean, and in terms of all these so-called knockouts that Wilder has, you know, people was going by the knockouts, talking about his record. You know, he knocked out this amount of people, and you know, all of this stuff that you hear coming from the LDBC guys talking about Wilder's record. He should be on the pound for pound list, this and that. I mean, at the end of the day, when he was asked about that, about, you know, Wilder's record, Mark Breland said uh, if he boxed the guys that Wilder boxed, he would beat them at his age. Wow. I mean, you know, so basically, you know, he's saying that Wilder hasn't boxed anyone. Wilder hasn't fought anyone really. He hasn't fought anybody basically until he fought Fury. And when, you know, when he was pressed even more about the, you know, Wilder's fights, you know, because the interviewer said, well, you know, Wilder did have, you know, some good fights. The guy said, Mark Breland said, good fights? You mean good fight? He said he had one good fight. He not good fights, but good, you know, good competition, good fighters that he went up against. And Wilder, I mean, Mark Breland basically corrected the interview and said he didn't have any, you know, good fighters. He had one good fighter, and that was Ortiz. Okay, so he basically said that the only decent fighter that Wilder fought before he fought Fury was, you know, Ortiz. That was it. All the other fighters on his record, you know, was nobody's basically. And when the guy brought up Stavern, you know, that Wilder had a good boxing against, did some good boxing against Stavern the second time, Mark Breland said, you could beat Stavern. I mean, my goodness. I mean, Mark Breland went in on this one. I mean, he basically, you know, he confirmed a lot of our conception and our opinion, you know, of the people out there that thought that, you know, Deontay Wilder is basically just a pretender. He just pretending to be a fighter. He's not really a fighter. Okay? He doesn't train like a fighter. He doesn't have the philosophy of a fighter. And, you know, he's just a knockout artist, you know, who's basically fighting, you know, not very good opponents who are tailor-made to get clipped by his right hand, and that's basically it. He's been, you know, it's like he's been matchmaked into his position. You know, they basically feed him guys who they think he could knock out that can't really box or fight that well. You know, not nobody in the top 5 or top 10. Okay, and the first time he had to fight a guy in the top 10, you know, like Tyson Fury, he couldn't handle it, and so, you know, his practices as a boxer caught up to him basically in the end. Okay, his lack of practice as a boxer, his lack of training, his lack of discipline, his lack of dedication to the sport, you know, all caught up to him in that Fury fight. Okay, I mean, like I said before, in the first fight, he barely escaped with a draw in that fight, and he should have never went back to fight Fury again the second time. And, you know, when he went back the second time, we all saw what happened. So yes, it was a pretty good interview. You know, again, Mark Breland confirmed a lot of our conception of Deontay Wilder. Doesn't listen. Okay, he can't take a loss. He said, you know, he everything was okay until he lost. That he don't. Some people just don't know how to take a loss, and he said Deontay Wilder is one of them. He also confirmed that he doesn't think that Wilder can beat Fury. Okay, this is Deontay Wilder's trainer telling you that. Okay, or his ex-trainer. He can't beat Fury. Okay, and he also made a point to say that he doesn't think that Fury cheated in that fight. Okay, so there it is. So all this talk from these LDBC guys out there and these Wilder the Wilderettes, the fanboys, and, you know, that's out there, you know, fanboying Wilder. I mean, again, these guys went out there and started making up all these stories about Glovegate, Watergate, you know, Mark Breland spiking the water and all of this nonsense. Okay, they the one that basically caused Wilder not to get the third fight with Fury. And you know, at the end of the day, I doubt if he actually wanted that third fight anyway. Because like I said, we all saw that he came out the 31st with his accusations, you know, basically co-signing all the accusations that his fanboy was making against Fury. And he came out and co-signed those accusations on October 31st. The contract expired October 15th, according to certain, you know, somewhere around there, October 13th to October 15th, the rematch clause expired. And he came out 15 days later to say he wanted to fight. Why didn't he say that before? You know, he said nothing for almost a year. And then when the contract expired, he came out and started talking about he wanted to fight, he wanted to file court cases, arbitration, and all these things when he knew that the contract had expired, he's not going to get the fight. That's when he's talking about, you know, he wants to fight and trying to make it look like Tyson Fury is ducking him. Okay. So, I mean, you know, we can see, you know, I mean, when you add all this stuff up and put it all together, you know, you understand what you're really dealing with Deontay Wilder, okay? The guy that lacking the discipline, didn't want to train like he was supposed to, didn't actually listen to his trainer, as his trainer himself is confirming, okay? It can't get any more real than what we're hearing from Mark Breland. I mean, basically, he confirmed everything that was said about Wilder in terms of Wilder's lack of discipline, training, dedication, okay, and his mental toughness. You know what I mean? You know, the first time he lost, he fell apart, okay, and this is what we are seeing, okay, and he basically said that Wilder's career is over, okay. He doesn't see Wilder. As far as he's concerned, you know, he's done with Wilder, and as far as he's concerned, Wilder's career is over with. And that might just be the case. I mean, there's no really, I mean, we had talk about Charles Martin and people like that, but him fighting, but there's no guarantee that Wilder's going to fight again. We don't know that. I mean, you know, we could, you know, we hear talk about him fighting again, but is he really going to fight again? I mean, are we just going to fade away into the sunset? You know, he got enough money now to retire if he wants to. So, I mean, if he wants to retire, I mean, I don't really see anything wrong with it. I mean, if he wants to retire at this point in his career, because what is he going to come back and do? I mean, Fury laid out the blueprint how to beat him, and a lot of these guys are going to, you know, I mean, I was saying that I don't think Charles Martin have a chance against him, you know, in my previous videos. But then again, you know, when I think about it, maybe he does. Maybe he can use that blueprint, you know, that Fury has put out and beat Wilder. Anybody can pick up that blueprint and use it right now, you know. And we don't know what kind of shape Wilder is in physically. I mean, we see him out there. We haven't seen any footage of him boxing or doing any kind of training, like he's in the gym working on it, you know, any of his, you know, working on his craft, you know, but we haven't seen anything like that. Well, we haven't seen him out there twerking. I mean, you know, he seems to be able to twerk pretty good. So, you know, maybe he's in better physical conditioning than we might think, but I don't know. I mean, we haven't seen any footage of Wilder training or working out or doing anything whatsoever. So who's to say that he's actually in the gym training? We haven't seen any footage of that. Okay, so who's to say he's gonna actually come back and actually fight somebody? Maybe he's just saying all this stuff. He's just talking to be talking because, you know, he got his fanboys on YouTube out there talking about him, and you know, maybe he's just trying to satisfy them. You know, because I mean, you know, I think it's you know, we can't really say whether or not Wilder is actually going to come back and fight again. And we don't really know. And we don't see no movement towards him coming out and fight again besides somebody floating, you know, the idea that he's supposed to fight Charles Martin. That's all we know. We don't know anything else besides that. Okay, so, I mean, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, you can go and check out the interview with Mark Breland. Like I said, I'm going to leave a link on my description, and you can, you know, take a look at the interview and you know, form your own opinions, you know. But again, Wilder basically, I mean, Mark Breland basically you know, confirmed everything that we have basically been saying about Wilder. You know, that, you know, he doesn't think that Fury cheated. Wilder doesn't train, okay, doesn't like to train. He doesn't listen to his trainer. He doesn't listen to Mark Breland. He does whatever he wants to do, okay. He also said he never had Wilder's water in that fight. Okay, he says JD was responsible for the gloves. Okay, and that Wilder was fine. Him and Wilder was fine until Wilder got beat, and he doesn't think that, you know, he thinks that some people just don't know how to take a loss. So yeah, a pretty good interview. You know, check it out if you get a chance. I'm not gonna really spend more time on this whole Wilder situation because you already know how I feel about the whole Wilder thing. You have seen my videos. You know, I've said what I've said about Wilder previous to what Mark Breland is saying, and it's basically Mark Breland just basically confirmed what I already thought about Wilder. Okay, and so, you know, the proof is in the pudding, and I would think that the videos I put out so far have been very accurate if you compare them to what Mark Breland is saying about Wilder. Okay, and you know that's about it. So make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Okay, you can get the real commentary, no sugarcoating on the commentary. You know, I don't play around with these guys. Okay, I'm not gonna say this, that, you know, to please anybody. I'm just gonna tell it like it is. And like I said, if you look at all my videos about Wilder and then go and look at the interview with Mark Breland, you'll see that my video he basically confirmed everything I was saying in my videos. Okay, you know, he basically confirmed all of it, every word. There was nothing in there that he didn't confirm, basically. And that, you know, yeah, that's what it is. So like I said, make sure you subscribe to the channel to get unbiased, real commentary about boxing. That's all I have for right now. This is TBE Boxing. I'm out.